这是什么？我天哪，这么多呀！哇，好吓人呐！
好像蝙蝠呀。
不是，而且为什么会这么多？刚才都过去很多了。
这是乌鸦，这是乌鸦吧？
China is seeing a new round of outbreaks of COVID-19. According to the official report, 3,122 new cases of homegrown infections, including confirmed and asymptomatic infections, were reported in mainland China on March 12th. It's public knowledge that Chinese official figures are usually diluted, but what is striking this time is that it's the largest increase in official numbers since the epidemic subsided in Wuhan 2 years ago. This wave is the second worst among the 5 waves of outbreaks that China has experienced so far. On March 13th, officials said that there were another 2,125 cases of homegrown infections. According to the data provided by the Chinese government, 20 provinces and cities have been affected by the outbreak, the most serious of which is Jilin province in the northeast. It's also the province where massive numbers of crows appeared at the beginning of this video. The capital of the province, Changchun, with a population of 9 million, and the capital of one of the Korean autonomous regions, has been locked down. Since March 14th, Jilin province has prohibited its people from traveling across the province as well as between cities and counties.
咱这边呢正在建设这个方舱医院啊，很多那个工作人员都在现场指挥，大伙儿也都非常辛苦的加班加点的去建设这个方舱医院啊。
On March 13th, China's metropolitan city, Shanghai, also saw the outbreak spiral out of control, with the local government reporting more than 200 new cases of local infections between March 11th and 13th. For 2 of the 3 days, the Shanghai government stopped updating the public. Some sources said it was because a spokesperson, the director of the Shanghai Center for Disease Control, was infected with COVID-19. It was the deputy director of the Shanghai CDC who made the appearance on the 13th. Several districts in Shanghai are now blockaded for control. On the evening of March 12th, the Shanghai government issued an emergency notice asking people not to leave the city unless absolutely necessary. Starting March 14th, all bus stations suspended operations. Hospital staff confirmed to overseas Chinese media that Shanghai was going to have all its population tested. A source also broke the news that government personnel in one district in Shanghai were infected en masse and that half of them were hauled off to quarantine, leaving government departments paralyzed.
It's a crime. It feels creepy.
Why do you feel creepy?
Because it feels like the end of the world.
The long-distance bus station has been closed. A nucleic acid test is required when traveling to other provinces. With these countermeasures, we've still run into a new outbreak in Shanghai, which shows that the control measures will be further strengthened. So, we should be prepared for a citywide lockdown as well. News also broke that authorities in Shanghai have begun forcibly seizing rental apartments because hotels are overrun with quarantined people. Some tenants were evicted overnight and left without a place to stay.
你看能给你协调的，政府来尽可能的给你协调。酒店能安排的，比方说你要提哪些要求，我告诉你哪个是可以的。
首先，我们 We were told to move out today. Where are we going to stay? You should at least give us some time for transition, say 7 days or half a month, to find a place to go. Who will pay for the financial losses in between?
No one will pay for it, I tell you clearly.
You mean it sucks to be us?
Let me tell you the logic of this. If you live in the apartment today, the government will control you too. You have to pay as well. In addition to Jilin and Shanghai, Guangdong Province in southern China and Shandong Province in the east are also hit hard by the current outbreak.
Look at Qingdao Airport. There's no one here. Look how beautiful it is. Look at Qingdao Airport. There's no one here. The mall is open as usual. Look at it. Not a single person. Not a single traveler. More than 200 flights have all been cancelled. I have kept mine because the flight was late. It won't take off till 6:40.
This is Guangzhou City, where a trade fair was underway on March 11th with more than 100,000 people present. The sudden suspension of the exhibition and closure of the venue due to the detection of the outbreak has sparked panic. People fled. A source said in the first 10 seconds, those who fled managed to get away. Those who came behind were stopped, and authorities asked everyone to be tested on the spot. Normally, a bowl of instant noodles costs about $1. Vendors seized the opportunity to raise prices.
How much is a bowl of noodles?
25 yuan.
25 yuan? Which one did you say is 60 yuan?
The one that's made ready for you is 60 yuan. Two major cities in Guangdong Province, Shenzhen and Dongguan, have been closed since March 14th.
Supermarkets are stocked with vegetables and food as normal. Shenzhen is a first-tier city. Now the whole city is mobilized to fight the outbreak. Don't believe that you can't buy vegetables and rice in Shenzhen. I'm concerned that you don't have the space for it in your home.
However, the public doesn't seem to believe in the government's message, as many supermarkets in Shenzhen have been snapped up and many people came in late and couldn't get any vegetables. According to data from the Chinese Disease Control Center, on March 13th, a total of over 3 billion doses of the COVID-19 vaccine were administered across the country. Some have complained that the vaccine is useless. Since there is no transparency of information in the Chinese government, specific details such as the effectiveness of domestic vaccines are not available. Previously, the Chinese government's COVID-0 policy has been questioned by some in the international community. This strict COVID-0 policy imposed by the Chinese government has left many residents trapped in food and water shortages due to the sudden arrival of the lockdown. The total shutdown of factories and international terminals has also worsened the strain on the global supply chain. Before, when the outbreak appeared to be waning, there were signs of faltering within the Chinese government on the COVID-0 policy. Some had called for a model of coexistence with the virus that has been used in many Western countries. For example, in July 2021, an anti-epidemic expert proposed the theory of coexistence with the virus. But the outbreak has pushed the CCP's epidemic prevention policy back onto its original track. On March 12th, China's news agency Xinhua reported that the State Council's Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism said it would not waver or relax in its general COVID policy of dynamic zero. Surely, in the CCP's propaganda, there was always a way to turn catastrophic events into news that cheers up the public. In addition to mainland China, another region that has been hit very hard is Hong Kong. On March 13th, Hong Kong Center for Health Protection, or CHP, announced that 13,335 new cases tested positive and 19,095 positive cases were reported to the Rapid Test Reporting Platform, or RTN, making a total of 32,430 new infections. Hong Kong's chief medical officer said that the number of confirmed cases remained at a high level of more than 30,000 per day and is expected to remain at that level in the coming days, adding that the current wave, the fifth wave of the outbreak in Hong Kong, has accumulated 3,780 deaths, including 5 children.
And you know, the living environment in Hong Kong is very different from the other places. And I think most people in Hong Kong are very worried, since we are very afraid of being stuck in a very small place, and because of the living environment in Hong Kong, and so we're really a bit worried, and we are still waiting anxiously for the answers from the government.
Following the instructions of the central government from Beijing, the Hong Kong government has adopted the mainland model, a strategy known as Dynamic Zero COVID-19. The construction of several temporary quarantine centers is in full swing. Reuters reports that the fifth wave of the outbreak has overwhelmed Hong Kong's medical system, and that the Hong Kong government has called in medical staff from the mainland to help. The CCP has sent construction companies with building materials to build quarantine centers to contain COVID-19 patients as well as those who have been diagnosed. The greatest challenge posed to us is the tight schedule of the project. We had to mobilize large quantities of resources to complete it in a very short period, and we made it thanks to the vigorous support from people from various sectors. Shenzhen and Hong Kong are close in distance. This is Shenzhen. What's this army of people in white doing? They entered the homes of residents not only to do nucleic acid testing, but also to go through the boxes to catch stowaways, to see if Shenzhen residents are harboring stowaways from Hong Kong. In 2021, a COVID-19 human challenge trial was approved by the UK government and conducted in collaboration with various organisations, including the UK Government Vaccine Task Force, Imperial College London, and a medical laboratory company. The trial eventually recruited 36 healthy volunteers between the ages of 18 and 30 who had never been infected with COVID-19 and had not been vaccinated. They participated in a human challenge in which they were deliberately infected with the virus. The results showed that only half of them were infected. The trial, entitled Safety, Tolerability, and Viral Kinetics During SARS-CoV-2 Human Challenge, was published in the February 2, 2022 issue of the prestigious scientific journal, Nature. Why is it that the other half of the population, which has not been vaccinated and has never been infected, therefore having no immunity, is able to resist the new coronavirus? The ancient times in the West believed that the plague originated in another dimension. Traditional Chinese cultivation culture believes that what causes sickness is karma. We notice that the COVID-19 virus has been labeled as the Chinese Communist virus in some cases. Does it mean that this virus is making its way home? It may sound inconceivable, but the world has left humans with many mysteries. Fortunately, in the meantime, humans have been endowed with the ability to think and reason.